Alright, so recently the MTA, actually not a while ago, they released another plan for the Queen's Bus Network, or the Queen's Bus Redesign, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to read what they said, and this is the new draft plan, and it is driven by customer feedback and was released on March 29, 2022. And throughout the outreach efforts in winter 2022, they've collected an immense amount of constructive feedback from the public. Comments centered around subway connections, schedule proposals, and bus stop spacing. This feedback became the primary input for the new draft plan. They're going to be focusing on 4 different new bus types. First, the local, which obviously everybody knows what it is. Red is going to be limited. Everybody knows what it is. I'm going to talk about dark blue, which is select bus service or a crosstown route. And finally, purple, which is a rush route, which we'll talk about in a bit. In the link in the description, I have a document for the Queen's Bus Redesign new draft plan. If you have too much files and if you don't have enough space, don't download it. But basically, I have most of it here. Now, I did record me talking about all the new routings and all that, but it actually took about an hour, so I decided not to upload it. But basically, I'm just going to go through the most important parts and how it's going to work out. Yeah. To address each of the key public outreach takeaways, they've looked at every major routing concern and proposed new route alternatives that address each concern. And if you probably noticed last year, they actually put out a QT and QMT bus route draft, but they're dropping that and they're now using the old Q labels that are usually used right now. They're maintaining key connections to subway stations and major destinations, proposing new interborough connections between Brooklyn and Queens, proposed specific bus stop locations, and identified specific stop removals to achieve more realistic average bus stop spacing by route type consistent with transit industry standards, provided more transparent service frequency and span proposals with comparisons to existing frequencies and spans, showing whether there's an increase or decrease in proposed services, maintaining key connections to ADA accessible subway stations and propose new connections to both existing and future ADA subway stations, and proposing new service to fill in gaps for the bus network, further improving accessibility of the network for all customers. They're also avoiding routing buses through narrow and problematic streets. Let's talk about the route types. They currently operate the 4 type of buses, which are local, limited, select bus service, and express. As they exist today, the maps do little to indicate what patterns of service each route provides in the term of frequency, stop spacing, and bus priority. The only ways to differentiate the different route types and what purpose they serve are the branching for SBS routes or the green color for the QM or X prefix for express buses. To address these issues, we're utilizing different color-coded routes that were proposed in the original draft plan. In this plan, we are calling them local, limited, rush, crosstown, or SBS, if you want to call it that, and express buses. Each of these route types will serve a particular purpose with different guidelines for stop spacing and service frequencies. Each route type was designed to match customers' stated needs of faster travel, better connections, reliability, and ease of use. When looking at a map, customers will be able to quickly determine how these routes meet their needs. So we're going to be talking about these new solutions and describe what purpose each of them are intended to serve. For a look on how these route concepts to translate into the larger Queen's Bus network, you can see the system map in the next chapter. So the original draft plan used in the temporary labels QT for local routes and QMT for express routes. The intent behind this was to promote these routes as new, distinct concepts that were independent of the existing network. However, this ended up creating confusion and became a barrier to understanding the changes, leading some customers to believe that their service was being discontinued when it was temporarily replaced by some new label. So for example, the Q52 SBS was actually going to become the QT52 SBS. A lot of people got confused and thought it was no longer running, so that's why they're keeping no longer using the labels QT, because they thought it was going to discontinue and not run there anymore. So we're going to talk about the 4 types of routes that the MTA is going to run on this network redesign. First one is local routes. Local routes are going to be the green colors on the new map. The purpose of the yellow local route routes is to connect local neighborhoods, key transit hubs, and important destinations. To easily recognize these routes on a map, they're shown in a green color. The three main priorities for this kind of routes are reliable service, better connections, and ease of use. Service frequencies are typically driven by ridership demand, and the average distance between stops on local routes is about 1/5 or 1/4 of a mile, 1,056 to 1,320 feet. Let's talk about rush routes, because this is a new one. The purpose of rush routes is to connect quickly between outer borough neighborhoods and subway stations. To easily recognize these on a map, they're shown in a purple color. So let's go to an example of a rush route, which is the Q2. The Q2 will operate between the UBS Arena and Jamaica 165th Street Terminal. However, it will be a rush route. Some stops will be taken off on Hillside Avenue. So if you look at this diagram, I know it's weird because it's a rectangle one. So UBS Arena, Hollis Avenue, so as you can see, this white part right here is non-stop. Stops at 179th Street F Station and 169th Street F Station as well, and terminates at the 165th Street Subway Station. As you can see along here, the Q1 is on this map because it provides local service on Hillside Avenue. This is a great additional service for this. Alright, let's talk about crosstown or select bus routes. The purpose of crosstown or select bus routes is to connect across the city as fast as possible between several important destinations. To easily recognize these routes on a map, they are shown in a blue color. The three main priorities for this route are better connections, faster travel, and ease of use. These routes have the widest stop spacing and most have all-day frequent service between 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekdays. Combined with limited routes, they help form a high-frequency grid network. The average distance, we're not going to talk about that actually. And express routes. The purpose of express routes is to connect neighborhoods in the outer boroughs to the central business district in Manhattan with a one-seat ride via the highway. Express routes use coach buses and have a higher fare, I guess $6.75 like right now. And here's the final map on the proposed network. Now I'm going to go down the list and I'm going to tell you any new routes that are going to be proposed. I'm not going to say where because I can't say it all in one go, but I'll try. So first we have the Q14, the Q45, the Q48, which is a new route. It's not going to be the LaGuardia Airport route. I'll talk about that in a bit. The Q51, the Q57, the Q61, the Q63, the Q68, the Q73, the Q75, the Q78, the Q80, Q82, Q98, Q105, Q109, Q115, B53, and those are all the routes. I'll talk about the Q48 right now since it's a little bit confusing. So the Q48 is a rush route, and it's basically going to be another part. It's basically the Q46 that runs from Glen Oaks to 260th Street and Kew Gardens Union Turnpike. The current Q48 will be replaced by the Q50 Limited, which will operate between Pelham Bay Park during middays, at Co-op City during rush hours, and LaGuardia Airport. This way we can bring back Q48 service. Again, as I said, I'm not going to go through every single bus route because it's literally going to be like an hour long. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. If you guys want me to go through another route, I'll go through them and we'll see what different they are.